Yadā yadā hi dharmasya glānir bhavati bhārata abhyutthānam adharmasya tadātmānaṁ sṛjāmy aham. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya glānir bhavati bhārata abhyutthānam adharmasya tadātmānaṁ sṛjāmy aham. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya glānir bhavati bhārata abhyutthānam adharmasya tadātmānaṁ sṛjāmy aham. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya glānir bhavati bhārata abhyutthānam adharmasya tadātmānaṁ sṛjāmy aham. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya glānir bhavati bhārata abhyutthānam adharmasya tadātmānaṁ sṛjāmy aham. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya glānir bhavati bhārata abhyutthānam adharmasya tadātmānaṁ sṛjāmy aham. Paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ vināśāya ca duṣkṛtām dharma-saṁsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. Paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ vināśāya ca duṣkṛtām dharma-saṁsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. Paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ vināśāya ca duṣkṛtām dharma-saṁsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. Paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ vināśāya ca duṣkṛtām dharma-saṁsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. Paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ vināśāya ca duṣkṛtām dharma-saṁsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge. Paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ vināśāya ca duṣkṛtām dharma-saṁsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge.
Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Everyone together. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vansha Jayate.
Surya Vansha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Hri Om. Very good. Namaste, everyone, and welcome to this very special live stream. Indeed, yesterday, as people may be aware, was one of the most important, really, why are we playing games? The most important Vedic holiday of the entire Vedic calendar. It was Sri Krishna Janmashtami. This was yesterday, what for us is Saturday. And we had a wonderful celebration yesterday as well. Indeed, on our Discord, we talked about the nature of the avatara. We talked about the actual birth of Lord Krishna, as we had a beautiful reading from Krishna book that went on for quite some time and done just absolutely beautifully. Then we had questions and answers and just overall discussion where, again, so many devotees of the ISDS were together live on Discord. And we just talked and talked and talked about Lord Krishna, various aspects of Krishna, the gopis, Radharani, etc., etc. There were many, many questions, and there was a lot that took place. But that was yesterday, what was actually Sri Krishna Janmashtami. This, of course, being our regular Sunday live stream, of course, we are continuing with the theme of Sri Krishna Janmashtami, even today as well. And indeed, we had a very special puja, as people saw, where in addition to Sriman Narayana, our temple murtis, who we have had for quite some time, and Dhanvantari and Ganapati and the gurus, etc., we also had a very nice murti of Lord Krishna himself. Hopefully, as the camera was aimed at our altar, people could see Lord Krishna on there. And indeed, this was a very special full puja to Sriman Narayana and to Lord Krishna himself. Now, I said last time that we got together that I was not going to give a talk, and I'm sorry, but today is Sri Krishna Janmashtami, and even now I really am going to give a very brief talk because I need to talk about this day. But then afterwards, the bulk of what we're going to be doing today is going to be questions and answers. But let me talk a little bit about why this day is of such importance. Indeed, yesterday on actual Sri Krishna Janmashtami, but also extending today as well, actually, there are over 1 billion followers. And yes, you heard me right. People may not be aware of this. There are over 1 billion with a B followers of Sanatana Dharma in the world today. The bulk of them certainly are in South Asia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, etc. But truthfully, there are followers of Sanatana Dharma in quite literally every single nation upon the face of the earth. In North America alone, there are millions of followers of Sanatana Dharma. And over the course of this weekend, all 1 billion followers of Sanatana Dharma, with maybe a few exceptions, people who were busy or whatever, celebrated this important day of Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Well, what is this day? This is the appearance of Lord Krishna upon the earth. So over 5,200 years ago, Sriman Narayana, Lord Vishnu, Narayana himself, was called upon to descend upon the earth. The reason why this was the case was, of course, back then, as happens periodically, the forces of adharma, of atheism, of evil. Atheism and evil are synonymous. Let there be zero doubt about that in the minds of anyone. Atheism and evil are synonymous. They are the same thing. People become atheists because psychologically, emotionally, mentally, they're warped individuals. Well, when such individuals begin to become too powerful, and what happens inevitably again and again and again and again throughout history, is that when you have evil, atheistic, materialistic sorts of individuals come to power in nations throughout the world, when it comes to the point where, oh, there are just too many of them, what happens? The world begins to suffer. Human beings begin to suffer. Wherever atheism comes in, suffering begins to escalate. So this is what happens. Well, when that occurs, well, it's up to human beings to try to do something, to try to fight this evil, to try to fight evil atheistic tyrants. And very often they're successful just on their own. But once in a while, it comes to the point where such individuals are so evil and so powerful to the point where, even regardless of the collective activity and endeavors of good people in this world, even despite that, not much can be done. Well, when that occurs, then what there is what is called the avatara. Avatara. Now, of course, this word, like so many words in Sanskrit, like karma, like pundit, like so many of these words, they become almost part of the English lexicon. You know, so we hear this word avatar with the A dropped off, which is incorrect. The Sanskrit, the proper Sanskrit is avatara. There is an A on the end. When people hear this word today, of course, what do they think? They think of, oh, one's image on social media, the little picture of yourself, whatever you choose it to be, either an image of yourself or something symbolic, etc. That's the avatar. Well, that is not what's meant by the correct word avatara. Avatara refers very specifically and exclusively to a divine descent. That is, when God himself chooses to come upon the earth in order to do several things. And quickly we're going to go through, in fact, the verses that we do almost every week, because it describes this very, very nicely. In a minute we're going to do that. But God comes upon the earth to do several things. To fight against adharma. Adharma means atheism. It means evil. To restore dharma itself, as well as to protect his devotees and to make his devotees happy. So again, at certain times in history, God himself will come upon the earth. Now, do I need to say followers of Sanatana Dharma are not stupid people? This is the most intellectually advanced culture upon the face of the earth, truly, bar none. You can compare it to anything, historically or today. It is the most intellectually, philosophically sophisticated worldview upon the face of the earth, and followers of Sanatana Dharma are not stupid people. What does it mean for God to come upon the earth? You see, the grandeur and magnificence of such an occurrence is recognized by anyone who has some piety at least, to the point where in some religions of the world, such an occurrence is not even considered to be possible. How is it possible? In other words, for that being, that person who is truly in every way infinite, who is omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnicompetent in every way, what does it mean for the infinite to come into the realm of the finite and to operate among the realm of finitude and finite beings? The truth of the matter is, when we consider such a thing, the magnitude of this is incomprehensible to us. In other words, that God would choose to come here. I said this yesterday when we were having our wonderful meeting on Discord. It is akin to the greatest ocean choosing to place itself in the smallest thimble. Conceptually, logically, even as far as the realm of physics, this is an impossibility. It's not something that we can conceive of. And yet that's what God does. Now, pause. That's what God does. Now, pause again so that people can contemplate those words. This is what God does in the form of the avatar. In other words, what is it that God does? Indeed, being God, he does the inconceivable. He does that which is achintya, inconceivable. This is the nature of God. And indeed, if we understand the unlimited nature of God, part of that unlimitedness, part of the fact that this is the infinite, means that it is within his scope to do that which seemingly is impossible. So thus, indeed, God can descend upon the earth and be among us. Well, one of the last times that this occurred was, again, roughly 5,200 years ago, with the divine descent of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, when Krishna himself came here. And Krishna himself, let me make this clear, is an incarnation, one of many incarnations of Narayana. Narayana is God. And when God, Narayana, chooses to, or when he is called upon to, he himself descends in the form of avatara. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who we worship, is indeed one of these avatars. Now, all that being said, what is the significance of Krishna and the Krishna avatar himself? Oh, many things. And again, I'm not going to replicate the talk that I gave yesterday, because I gave an impromptu, extemporaneous talk for maybe 40 minutes about the nature of Krishna. And that's been recorded, fortunately, so maybe someday that will be available. So I'm not going to go as deeply, but let me just say there are many aspects to Krishna, and we know this. For individuals who are Vaishnavas, we know that there is Bala Krishna, for example. There is Krishna as baby. There is Krishna as child. There is Krishna, of course, as Krishna appears in the forests of Vrindavana with the gopis and with Radharani. Oh, but then there are other aspects as well. There is Krishna, the youth, who goes to Mathura and defeats Kamsa, the evil demon, in a wrestling match and in other ways. There is also Krishna who comes later in his quote-unquote life upon this earth, his sojourn as an avatar upon this earth. And interestingly, for those of us who are followers of Sanatana Dharma today, at least initially, as we are first beginning to approach an understanding of Krishna, it is of importance to us to first enter through this door of understanding, and that is the later Krishna. And who is that later Krishna? Krishna as king, the king of Dwaraka. Krishna as warrior, because he was a kshatriya. He was not a brahmana, he was a kshatriya. For all the brahmanas, the caste brahmanas out there, your God is a kshatriya. Keep that in mind. Krishna was a kshatriya, born a kshatriya. But also Krishna as Adi Guru, as the greatest of gurus, as the first of gurus. So in these latter aspects, especially, we, the denizens of the Kali Yuga today in 2025, we have a lot to learn from these aspects of Krishna especially. And why? What is the connecting string, one could say, the connecting thread between these three aspects of Krishna? King, warrior, guru. Leadership. That Krishna is the supreme leader par excellence. Oh, we have, throughout history, we have had the most amazing leaders in Sanatana Dharma. Again, religious leaders, political, warrior leaders, martial leaders, etc. But these were humans. What does it mean to have God himself? No, not someone pretending to be God. We have plenty of those today, plenty of fools who think they're God. No, what does it mean to actually have that than which nothing greater can be conceived, that which is the source of all reality itself, as our leader? This was also the latter-day role in his life that Krishna played. And it is in that aspect especially that we have much to learn about Krishna. Again, Krishna as king, Krishna as the perfect ruler, the perfect, interestingly, politician. Krishna as warrior. Oh, Krishna was a supreme martial artist. It actually speaks about this in the Vedic scriptures, but it's probably the aspect of Krishna that people focus on the least, and yet it's important. He was a fighter, literally. Hand-to-hand combat, wrestling, martial arts, with weaponry, etc. He was a warrior. And finally, of course, as his role of guru in Bhagavad Gita, he was the Guru Supreme. He was the supreme guru, not only of Arjuna, but of all of us today. This is why the Bhagavad Gita is the scripture for today. So it's on this day that we indeed celebrate this supreme leader, Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And indeed, what are we lacking today? What have I said? Repeatedly, almost ad nauseum. What have I repeated? I wish I didn't have to repeat it, but I've repeated this actually, not since there have been live streams. I've been saying this before YouTube existed. I've been saying this before the internet existed. We're lacking leaders. We have been. Now we have good leaders finally arising. But we've been lacking leaders for generations. Well, we are to learn what is the nature of true leadership from Lord Bhagavan Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Quickly, I want to just go through these two verses from Bhagavad Gita that we recite all the time, every day. Yadā yadā hi dharmasya is the first one, and this is Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 4, verse 7. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in the practice of dharma, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of atheism, adharma, at that time I descend myself. So indeed, this is Lord Vishnu speaking through Bhagavan Sri Krishna. This is Krishna speaking, who is non-different from Lord Vishnu. And he is explaining that this is why he comes, for these reasons. There is a decline in the practice of dharma, and there is a predominant rise of adharma. So indeed, what have we seen very specifically today? And today meaning, for several generations now. What we have seen is that indeed there has been a decline in dharma all around us. There has been a decline in religious principles, in morals, in ethics, etc., in spirituality. So those are the conditions that are necessary for then God himself to descend upon the earth. But then paritrāṇāya sādhūnāṁ in the very next verse, verse 8 of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. In order to deliver the pious and to vināśāya duṣkṛtām, to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of dharma, I advent myself, millennium after millennium. So indeed, this is the reason why Krishna comes. He comes in order to do several things. To deliver the pious, in other words, to help those who are his devotees, to help those individuals who are true, who are good, who are pious, and who are in suffering. And why? Because of the rise of atheism. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, interestingly, vināśāya duṣkṛtām, in order to annihilate such atheists. To annihilate such atheists, materialists, psychopaths, evil people, etc. And to reestablish dharma, the principles of dharma. For this reason, he comes again and again and again, multiple times as various avatars. Very good. So with that, I thank you all for joining us on this special, special day of Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Don't leave just yet. This ends my speaking portion of what we're doing with the live stream today. And again, as I said, now I would like to dive into questions and answers. So we're going to take quite some time. We will do our best to try to answer as many questions as possible. So with that, let me open the floor, both to our congregation here, live in our temple, but also to those individuals watching right now via YouTube. If there are any questions, and we have a question here right now, please.
We talk sometimes about the relationship, the type of relationship that we develop with God. Some people view God as a friend, some people view God as a lover, etc. Are the names that we receive in initiation connected to that relationship in any way?
Good question. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And let me explain what is meant by that. Very, very exactly, let me explain what's meant by that. Each of us as Atman have our own actual name that is non-different from who we are as Atman. And again, it's very interesting. Let me back up a little bit. This is one of many, 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 many differences between the spiritual realm versus the material realm, and how we are in the spiritual realm versus the material realm. And that is this. that in the material realm, the object, let's just say object, because this applies even to things, persons, everything. The object and the name of that object are not necessarily synonymous in any way. That's why, I just drank some water. Water. It has different names in different languages. Agua, pani, etc. There are many words that you can use for water. So the name and the thing, the name and the person are not necessarily synonymous. This is true for who we are within the material realm. However, in the spiritual realm, the person's name and who the person is are synonymous. Now, all that being said, let me talk about the two different spiritual names. That is, the name that is given by the Guru versus, interestingly, the name of the actual individual Atman. There is a difference. And let me explain what that is. As far as the name of the actual individual Atman, that has been that specific Atman's name since beyond time, eternally. It is connected to that person, that Atman. They are non-distinct, they are non-separate. When the Atman, who is presently in illusion, has liberation, finds himself back in the spiritual realm, the person knows their own name again. They are referred to as that name for eternity. They always have been, they always will be. Now, the name given by the Guru, on the other hand, it is a spiritual name, but it's a little bit different. It's a secondary spiritual name. And the idea is that the spiritual name is given to the disciple more than anything because it is something that the disciple as an individual needs to aspire toward, if that makes sense. So in other words, it is a help in sadhana, it is a help in spiritual growth. Now you see, this is why the eternal name of the Atman and the name given by the Guru can't be the same. Because inherently for the Atman doesn't need spiritual growth. It's only when the Atman is in illusion. You see, what does it mean for an Atman to be in Vaikuntha and, but I have to grow spiritually, I have all these anarthas I need to get rid of and I have so much anxiety. No, that doesn't make sense. Once you're in the spiritual realm, you are in perfection and you are acting as your true self perfectly. But being Atmans within the material world, the spiritual name given by the Guru serves as a bridge, in a way, if that makes sense. Yeah, it serves as a bridge so that, it's a spiritual name. It's also a name, interestingly, that the Atman, let's say as the disciple, as Atman, in their liberated state, it's secondary name. That name will stick with them, but it's a secondary acquired name. Yeah. So it's not that, you abandon that name. No, just like anything truly spiritual, upon liberation, you don't abandon it if it's truly spiritual. You don't abandon the Guru, you don't practice bhakti, and now I'm liberated, forget about bhakti. No, you retain that name, but it's a secondary name. Really what you do is you especially embrace your true eternal name. Now, I've said this several times. Of course, this begs the question. A person will, out of mere curiosity, they'll start asking me, can you tell me what my real name is, my spiritual? No. We know that exclusively upon liberation. The reason why is because what we call nama, or let me say it in this way, how nama is expressed, how name, pure name, is expressed when we are still within materiality is limited. The only way we can fully understand our spiritual name is when we are no longer within any form of materiality, gross or subtle. We have to be purely in the spiritual state in Vaikuntha. Then we have the ability to truly understand our true name. And when I say understand it, I mean even in so-called pronunciation. Yeah, if we were to hear actual spiritual sound vibration, actual, not just created by the mouth, but envision this. You can even say Krishna. This is the divine name of God. If you say Krishna and you meditate upon that sound, you'll have liberation. However, it's understood. It's always been understood yogically, as far as vyakarana, as far as the science of grammar, of phonetics, etc. It's always been understood that, however, because you are producing that sound of even the name of God with hatta, with the sound of two things striking. So, creating the vibrations with your vocal cords. That being the case, you're not hearing the actual purely spiritual shabda. To understand the purely spiritual shabda, you need to be 100% on the spiritual platform. Now, who else hears, just generally speaking, what other class of beings hear shabda, pure shabda? Who are they? Starts with an R.
Rishis.
Yes, very good. The rishis. You see, this is what makes the rishi special. You see how this is all tied in. This is what makes the rishi special, is that they come to a point where, are they pure yogis, successful yogis? Yes. Are they liberated beings? Double yes. But more, they are now experiencing, quite literally, transcendental sound that is not audible to the ear, but they're hearing it within. So that is also how our spiritual name operates. It's purely transcendent. Does that make sense? Very good. Wonderful. Good. So with that, let's see what other questions there are here. Some very nice comments. Very good. Oh, good. Here's a very nice question, actually, that ties in several elements, several different things. I'm sorry, let me get back to the question because the screen shifted. Here we go. And it is, Namaste Sri Acharyaji, is the deification of the leader something dharmic? For example, Romulus or Alexander the Great? Interesting question, and I know exactly what you mean, actually, because this is something that, you're using Roman and Greek examples, respectively. The truth of the matter is you find this in many, 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 many ancient cultures, including China, including certainly Egypt, etc., etc. You do find this in ancient, what today we call India, etc. And in order to understand this, we need to, of course, understand the concept of Chakravartin. So the idea is not that, you take an ordinary king and, let's say, play Asura's advocate. No, it's a very good king. It's a very nice king. He's done some good things economically for people. He built a few bridges and, some nice things like that. And you take that mortal and now you claim, no, he is a god and we're going to build temples to this person and worship him, etc. No, that's not the process. That's not the process. The process is actually this, that certain kings are indeed individuals who are beyond merely Arya. They are beyond merely the noble. You see, a king by definition must be Arya, must be noble, a noble individual. And what's meant by noble is they're wonderful. That's what's meant by noble. Very simple. They have achieved excellence in everything that they do. They are a good person first and foremost. They're virtuous, they're wise, they're spiritual. They're a good leader, etc., etc. They are sincere in their love of the people, and on like this. Well, it's one thing to be even a good leader, but among good leaders, once in a while, there is an individual who will arise, who is recognized as being beyond merely a good leader. He is an individual who is a Chakravartin. He is an individual who is a Rajarshi. He is an individual who is, to use the Platonic statement, a philosopher king. He is an individual who is the perfect personification of perfect rulership on the one hand, but perfect spirituality and connection with God and the gods on the other hand, such that this person really, if he wanted to, could go either way. He could just focus on being a king, or if he didn't want to be a king, he could be a guru. He could be a spiritual teacher if he wanted to. He is qualified for both. Now, when you have such an individual, that person is, again, beyond merely a king. That is someone who, indeed, is someone who is worthy of not just admiration, but of worship. Because this is an individual who truly represents the will of God upon the earth. Now, of course, there have been many kings throughout history Even up until the medieval times, actually, in Europe, there have been many kings who claimed that that's what they were. Oh, they were God's hand upon the earth. They were God's will manifest upon the earth, etc., etc. Many kings have claimed this, but whether they were or were not can be known objectively. Many kings have claimed this, and they were very much the opposite. Some were, like I said, just okay. They were good. They were good kings, but they were not individuals who themselves had any sort of deep spiritual attainment to them. But again, when you find such an individual who is this sort of a king, what is called technically Chakravartin, then that is an individual who is beyond merely a ruler. This is someone who, again, truly is the hand of God operating within this world as a ruler. So I hope that answers the question. And then you ask another question here. Who is the true consort of Krishna? Is it Radha or Rukmini? Yes. The answer is yes. They are both manifestations of Lakshmi Devi. So that being the case, they are manifestations of Lakshmi Devi who accompany Krishna for different purposes. And when you look at the lives and the personalities of both Radharani and Rukmini, you see that indeed it's not just that they're quite different. They're quite different in a very particular, very specific sort of way. Radharani representing the rural, Radharani representing the simplicity of pure adoration and love toward Krishna. With Rukmini, on the other hand, representing the urban, representing the kingdom, representing queenship, representing still love of Krishna, but in a more sophisticated way as queen, as wife. But indeed, this is the reason why both approaches are necessary. It's important to understand how to approach Krishna in both ways. So thus, Lakshmi Devi manifested herself upon the earth along with Narayana becoming Krishna, Lakshmi Devi becoming, interestingly, Radha and Rukmini at the same time, and for that purpose that I just explained. And let me explain this as well, actually. This is the unlimited nature of God. When we talk about an avatar, first of all, let me back up. Whenever Narayana appears upon the earth, Lakshmi always appears with him. They are inseparable. In most cases, you can see Lakshmi Devi as the actual consort of Narayana in avatar form. Sometimes you don't quite see her, but she's there nonetheless. That is the understanding of all the Vedic scriptures. And more, both Narayana when he comes as an avatar and Lakshmi Devi when she comes as an avatar, they have the ability to appear as multiple persons. And that's what's fascinating. So thus we talk about Krishna all the time. Keep in mind, his brother Balarama also was an avatar. So when Krishna was here, there were two avatars present at the same time, Krishna and Balarama. Well, the same thing with Radha and Rukmini. You know, when Rama was here, also his brother was an avatar, Lakshman. So again, when God comes, he can choose to come as one being or several beings. And why? Because that's his will. To state it simply, but then interestingly, when you look at the stories of the various avatars, there are reasons for everything. There are reasons why Narayana came as Krishna and Balarama, as Rama and Lakshman. And again, sometimes he comes just by himself. Narasingha is an example. Narasingha did not have a brother. It was just Narasingha. So I hope that answers the question for you. Very good. So many questions. This is very nice. Give me a moment to look at the next question. Very nice. Very good. Here's a very nice aesthetic question, actually. I love speaking about aesthetics from any perspective. The Western perspective, because I've studied it extremely deeply throughout the history of Western art, literature, etc., but also from the Vedic perspective. And the question is, can you speak a little about emotions and imagination in Romanticism, these are praised as ways of knowing deeper than reason. Thus, they praise genius poets as almost as sages. Very good. And this is actually, it's a multi-part question. So let me read the rest of what you say here. It seems to me they've missed the point in arguing against reason because their conception of reason was modern and materialistic. Yes. I apologize for the somewhat mundane nature of the question. Oh no, as I said, I love answering questions like this actually. Yes, indeed. And let me tell you, as far as indeed the history of art, literature, etc., one of my favorite eras is indeed what's called the Romantic era. So basically late 1700s, early 1800s, mid 1800s, and that whole era. I like many of the poets of that era. I like a lot of the visual art of that era, the architecture, etc. So it is a very nice era as far as I'm concerned. However, when it comes to the philosophy of Romanticism, and there is indeed a philosophy of Romanticism, many people wrote about what was their aesthetic philosophy during that era. Yes, indeed, there were several misconceptions, and this was one of them, the artificial juxtaposing of emotion and imagination against reason. Now, this is what's interesting, is that the proper understanding is that first and foremost, reason must always be there. And reason, not in the stodgy, Mr. Spock, logic sort of sense. No, in the sense of that we must use our wisdom and intelligence always. That must always be the foundation of every endeavor that we engage in. That is something that is accurate. However, and this is where many of the romantic philosophers, let me call them that, and artists and poets, this is where they got this wrong. What they did not understand is this. What Sanatana Dharma teaches is that, again, reason, meaning wisdom and philosophy, must always be the foundation of everything that you do. However, in accordance with whatever is the very specific field of endeavor that you are interested in, you add to that. But you never abandon philosophy, reason, intelligence, wisdom, etc. That is always the base foundation. Now, for artists, for example, to answer now your question exactly, for artists specifically, using that as a foundation, not seeing themselves as opposed to it, rejecting it, etc., or interestingly, even going beyond it, they add to that several of the elements that you mentioned here. So indeed, they add emotion. If you're an artist, if you are anything, if you're a singer, if you're a musician, if you think of any art form, emotion is going to be there. And when I say emotion, I mean emotion. Actual human emotion is going to be there. Imagination. What does it mean to be an artist with no imagination? Oh my Lord, everything, every single work of art on the face of the earth would be a replication of Mickey Mouse. Think about that. Everything would just be base. Everything would just be base. No, it is as a result of imagination that you now have new creations, etc. So indeed, these elements are important, but not at the expense of reason. But more importantly, and this was something that many of the romantic artists lost sight of, not all of them, not all of them did, but some of them did, and that is this most important element, and that is that spirituality must be there. Spirituality must be there. So what is the perfect artist? In fact, let me just state this. What is the perfect artist? Someone who is operating indeed from wisdom, what you call reason, yes, reason, wisdom, intelligence, etc., who incorporates all these other elements that are more subjective that I've mentioned. So indeed, emotion, imagination, etc., but permeated with spirituality, having their eyes on what is the ultimate goal. Why am I bringing together reason/philosophy with imagination and emotion in order to create something wondrous and beautiful in any form? Music, poetry, literature, visual art, painting, architecture. Why am I doing all this? For the glorification of God. When you have an artist who has now combined all of these elements, you have the perfect artist. And indeed, when you look throughout the history of art, those were the perfect artists in every way. You know, it's interesting, just talking about classical music for a moment, actually. People know I love classical music. Oh, no, I'm not an absolute expert on it, but I know a lot, quite a bit about classical music, the entire history, almost all the composers. At the very least, I know one or two works of theirs. And my two favorite composers, interestingly, are, certainly Wagner. I think a lot of people know that. But interestingly, Bach. Bach is one of my favorite composers. Why is this the case? When you hear his music, you hear everything that I just said. His music is based upon reason. It's based practically upon mathematics. Dissertations, PhD dissertations for 200 years have been written about this. His music is very logical. Yet, when you hear it, oh my Lord, you are emotionally moved by it. And all of his works are dedicated to the glory of God. That's Bach. And that's why he, as far as Bach and Wagner in my mind, sometimes I lean a little bit more toward Bach, sometimes a little bit more toward Wagner. They're very different composers, actually. They're quite different. But yes, I hope that answers your question. And no reason to apologize. It was actually a very good question. Good. This is actually, forgive me for making a little face. I'm not making a face because this next question is bad. On the contrary, it's a very good question. I'm just thinking about, the mistakes that others have made in answering this question. So I'm going to answer this next question truly definitively, and it is another two-parter. Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. Is there truly a hierarchy to the types of relationships one can have with Bhagavan Sri Krishna? Gaudiyas speak of conjugal love being the highest. Or is it better to have a relationship by one's natural disposition, as I have always felt that I am naturally predisposed to approaching God with awe and reverence? Truly a good question. And let me tell you, your common sense instinct is correct. It is correct. Yes, I know among Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and it's very unfortunate. I've heard them say this endlessly. There probably is nobody who understands Gaudiya Vaishnava theology and philosophy on the face of the earth more than I do. And I don't say that lightly. I presented academic papers on Gaudiya philosophy. My PhD dissertation, which became the Vedic way of knowing God, is based upon the Shad Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami. So I know Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy and theology extremely well. And as far as latter day, at least, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, meaning, in the last maybe 100, 150 years, something like that, this is something that they indeed repeat again and again and again, is that all the other sorts of relationships, the other four relationships that we can have with Krishna, they're okay, I guess, but no, we're all meant to be gopis. That's the highest, and all the others are, the implication is inferior. No, that's not something that the Vedic scriptures teach in any way whatsoever. They all have their very specific rasa, they all have their very specific taste, they all have their very unique ways of being from the spiritual perspective. They are quite different from one another, whether one approaches with awe and reverence, whether one wants to be a friend of Krishna, whether one wants to be a servant of Krishna, whether one wants to be the parent of Krishna, or indeed a conjugal lover of Krishna. They're all very different, obviously, as you can imagine from the relationships and the nature of those relationships. However, the idea that that conjugal is superior to all others, from the perspective of the individual Atman, this is what needs to be said. Each individual Atman has a very specific relationship with God. That being the case, that relationship is something that is inherent to who they are as an individual Atman. That being the case, the Atman being perfect because it itself is a part and parcel of the Absolute, that relationship that that specific Atman has with Krishna is perfect for them. Perfect. To the point where, let's say that one is indeed designed as an Atman. Now, let me state it that way. Let's say a person is designed as an Atman to be a servant of Krishna. If they were to try to be a conjugal lover, that would be inconceivable to that Atman. And on with all of these 5 relationships. Rather, if a person is designed as an Atman to be a servant of Krishna, being a servant of Krishna is for them perfection. And there is nothing higher. Or if they're meant to be a friend, or on. So indeed, this is how we have to understand this. This is the proper understanding. Very good. Very good. This is a good question, and I'm going to apologize for not answering it. I would rather answer this one-on-one, if that's okay. But I'll read the question. Namaste, Shri Guru. Will you please tell us about Krishna's transcendent attributes, specifically relating to his wives, and how this relates to Radha and Rukmini? Asking for someone else. Thank you. Yes, I will answer your question. Contact me and I'll answer this one-on-one. This is not something for the general public. But I will answer it for you. Definitively. Very good. Here's a nice comment. Very nice comment. Give me 1 second. Here we are. Hare Krishna, Acharyaji. Thank you for making the nice point and emphasizing that indeed Krishna is a warrior, and in fact also played the role of a peacemaker and politician. Thank you for that wonderful comment. And indeed, decades ago actually. Now a few other people are beginning to speak about this as well, but decades before anyone else did, this was something that I began to speak about actually. When I say decades ago, I'm talking about early 90s, if not a little bit before. And that is that, people will very often forget what is the actual nature of Krishna. They'll focus on Krishna as, of course, being in Vrindavana and playing the flute, which is, of course, wonderful, beautiful. Ultimately, we are to meditate upon Krishna in this way, in Vrindavana. Or they meditate upon Krishna as the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, which again, that is absolutely wonderful. But one aspect of Krishna that up until recently, until I began talking about it, everyone forgot, is that Krishna is indeed a warrior. And I mean in every sense of the term. Again, I've spoken to very arrogant caste Brahmins, and they'll try for about 5 minutes, and then they give up, to debate with me on caste, their favorite thing to speculate about. And I'll speak to them about Krishna, and I'll point out to them, do you worship Krishna? Oh, yes, they'll say very piously, yes. Oh, yes, Krishna is my Lord, yes. Oh, all right, well, Mr. Brahmin, first of all, I hope you're a vegetarian. I won't ask you to reveal that to me. Mr. Brahmin, you understand that the God you're worshiping is a kshatriya, is of a supposedly lower caste than you, and you have him on your altar. Someone who technically you would not share a meal with. Let's get real. If you're an arrogant caste Brahmin, you won't have a meal with a kshatriya, or what to speak of a shudra. And yet you have a kshatriya on your altar. And you're offering puja to him. So indeed, Krishna was a kshatriya. His parents were kshatriyas. And more, it's not just that he was born in such a manner, but he lived this. See, more importantly, it's not a matter of, who are your parents? Are you living your varna? My parents are Brahmins, so I'm a Brahmin. Oh, really? So you're vegetarian? You haven't snuck over to McDonald's in New Delhi and gotten a Big Mac once in a while? You see? So what's more important is not just how you're born, but what you're doing. If you're a Brahmana, and that's how you say it, not Brahmin, the British started saying that, and now you repeat it. Brahmana, Brahmana. That's how you say it. If that is what you are, that means you're a vegetarian. If that's what you are, that means you have humility. If that's what you are, that means, no, not reading an Amar Chitraktha. No, it means every day you study the Vedas in Sanskrit. And on and on and on. Well, Krishna was a kshatriya. And guess what? Why am I speaking about all this? He lived as a kshatriya. He was a warrior. What does this mean? This means that he went through kshatriya training, as all kshatriyas have to. This means that he learned politics, he learned diplomacy, he learned the martial arts. This means he practiced all of this. This means he lived his life as a kshatriya. And what is a kshatriya? It's not a caste. It means you're a warrior. In fact, the other way around. If you are a warrior, you are a kshatriya. See, this is the difference between caste versus varna. People don't get this. Let me state this as simply as possible so that once and for all people can understand. It's not that because you are a brahmana, therefore you are a priest. No. It is because you are a priest, i.e. you are purely sattvic, that we now call you a brahmana. It is not that, because you are a kshatriya, you are a warrior. No. Because you are a warrior, we call you a kshatriya. It is not that, because you were born in the Vaishya caste, now you have no choice but to just be a merchant. No. It is because you are a merchant. It is because this is what you want to do. It's what comes naturally to you that we call you a Vaishya. It is not because you were quote unquote born a Shudra that now you are to work with your hands and you can't touch the Vedas. It's the other way around. It's because you desire to work with your hands and to be a skilled laborer or craftsman, and the last thing that would come to your mind is having any interest in touching the Vedas. Therefore, we call you a Shudra. Do you see the difference? One is caste, from the Portuguese, castus. Has nothing to do with Sanatana Dharma. The other is Varna. Now, all that being said, Krishna, our God, was a kshatriya. He was a warrior. And indeed, this is something that is of great importance for us to remember and to realize and to act upon. And that is that Sanatana Dharma itself is a warrior religion. Gandhi, nice guy, but a fool, and he ruined that for us. He gave us the false notion that ahimsa means that you're a pacifist. Krishna was not a pacifist. You read the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is saying, I don't want to fight. And Krishna says, you're a fool. Stand up, be a man, fight. That's what Krishna says. So indeed, Krishna was a warrior. So thank you for thanking me for reminding people of this. Very good. Let's see what other questions there are. And due to time, I don't think I'm going to be able to answer all the questions, but I might maybe answer one or two more. Good. This is also a two-parter, but this is a nice question that I'm going to answer. And again, I don't read runes, so I'll just say this is from our rune brother. So forgive me that I can't read runes. But it is Namaste Shri Guru. Is it true that one can attain to God despite all sins of all severities committed throughout our lives if one simply remembers Him and praises Him as our last thought or act? And if it is true, from the self and not artificially forced by oneself? That is an excellent question. And again, let me answer this so people don't have misconceptions about this. Because indeed, Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, that, one who remembers me upon death will indeed come to me. So on the one hand, that is true, but it's not simple. and it's not simplistic. What is meant by this statement is that essentially whatever you have focused upon throughout your life, that necessarily is going to be the thing that you're thinking about as you're passing away. Because as a person is passing away, oh, this is an existential phenomenon when we're dying, such that everything is laid bare. And what is of true value to us, that will come to the fore of our awareness as we are leaving our body. So with that understanding, whatever it was that you cultivated within your awareness, that is naturally what's going to come to you as you're leaving your body. Now, that being the case, now we can understand this. So many people read this, and sadly they have the idea that what it's saying is that quite literally, oh, even if by chance you led a sinful life all of your life up until 10 seconds before you're going to die, and then by chance you happen to think of Krishna, oh, now you'll be liberated. That's not what is being said by this statement. Rather, the understanding is this: whatever you cultivated throughout your life, that is what you will be aware of as you're leaving your body. And whatever you are aware of as you're leaving your body, you will go to that. So now with this more nuanced and sophisticated understanding, now we understand that if you are going to be thinking about Krishna as you leave your body, that didn't happen by chance. Rather, it's because you cultivated that awareness, Krishna consciousness, throughout all of your life, such that when that traumatic event is finally happening and you're dying and you're leaving your body, A, for the Vaishnava, it's not traumatic at all, and B, you are thinking of Krishna. But why? Because you spent your life thinking about Krishna. You see, if you spent your life thinking about money, when you pass away, most likely you're going to think about, if not money, your possessions. You're going to be thinking about, oh my God, I'm leaving everything behind, all this wealth I accumulated, oh no, now I'm going to be dead in 10 seconds, blah, blah, blah. That's what you're thinking about. So what will you be in your next life? Oh, you could be many things. You're not going to be liberated. And again, 1,000 examples that I can give. But indeed, if you cultivated Krishna consciousness throughout your life, then as you're passing away, you will think of Krishna. And that being the case, you will go to Krishna. So I hope that gives a deeper understanding of what is meant by this. Yeah, it's not just chance. It's not the idea that you find in some religions, I won't mention which ones, where, oh yes, you could have been a sinful person all your life, and then, again, 5 seconds before you die, you say, oh God, please forgive me, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Oh, and then you're dead. Oh, you're fine now, you had salvation, even though you slaughtered thousands of people before then. Oh, it's only those last 5 seconds that count. No, some religions say that, but that's silly, truly silly. It's not the case. Very nice. Very good. Before I go on, let me ask our people here, how are we doing? Yeah? Yeah? All right, I'll answer just one more question in that case. And then we'll stop at that point, because I should tell people it is, what is it officially here in Omaha, 1,000 degrees? Yeah, it's... Yeah, it's 1,000 degrees right now. So, unfortunately, our congregational members, they're happy and joyous, but it is pretty hot, and, people are sweating. So I'm going to answer one more question, and then at that point, we're going to sadly have to end for today. Do we subscribe to the kitten hold or monkey hold of God's divine grace? Can you explain the difference, or what is best? Om Namo Narayanaaya. Very nice. That is a very good question, and I understand what's meant by the two. For those who don't, I'll explain what is meant by this. When it comes to the idea of salvation, of liberation, there are two distinct ideas, sadly, that have arisen really, especially in the last roughly 1,000 years or so. Before that, people had a more sophisticated understanding. But these are sometimes called the monkey path and the cat path. And this is the idea. to achieve liberation, should we be like the kitten? So what does the kitten do? Well, if you have a kitten and you have a mother cat, the kitten doesn't have to do anything to go somewhere. The mother cat comes and very gently it takes the kitten by the scruff of its neck, it lifts it up, and it takes it to its destination, and the kitten just kind of lies there happily and doesn't have to do anything. Versus the monkey path. And what is the monkey path toward liberation? It's the opposite. If you see a baby monkey holding on to the mother monkey, oh, it's holding on. It's using all of its strength and, it's almost straining to hold on to the back of the mother as the mother is leaping from branch to branch to branch. And, oh, that little baby better hold on tight. So this is the idea. The first path is the path of purely focusing on and depending upon God's grace. So like the kitten, it doesn't have to do anything. The mother is doing everything. The second path is the idea that, no, we have to do our own effort to know God, to have liberation. So again, like the monkey, we have to do our own work, the little baby monkey. We have to hold on, etc. So the question that is being asked here is, which of these paths do we subscribe to? Is it the path where we are 100% dependent upon the grace of God, or is it the path where we are to do of our own effort in order to achieve salvation? And indeed, sadly, again, for roughly the last 1,000 years, people will very often fall into one camp or the other. No, it's all God's grace, I have nothing to do, or it's all me, me, me. I have to earn my way to God, and that's it. Well, the actual path that is taught all throughout the totality of the Vedic scriptures, as well as by the true Vedic Acharyas, including especially Ramanuja, is, all right, cat path versus monkey path. Which is it? Yes, it's both. It's both. But what is meant by this? Oh, again, let's go a little bit deeper. This is what is taught in Sanatana Dharma. As far as God's grace, there is never a time when we are deprived of the grace of God. We are surrounded by the grace of God at all times. It's as if we are a fish living in the ocean of God's grace. God's grace is always there in abundance, being delivered unto us. However, why is it that at times we feel as if we are not experiencing that grace? It's because of our illusion. It's because of ego. When we have ahankara, when we have false ego, it's like we have a wall, thick, tall wall of bricks around us, such that we can't see that grace. We can't experience that grace. But that wall is of our own doing. The grace is there. Now, how do we come to the point where we now have the ability to have true dependence upon that grace, access to that grace, etc.? We first have to do our own effort. We need to tear down that wall. That wall, created brick by brick, is the manifestation of our false ego, of our avarice, of our ignorance, etc. So this is why the yoga system exists, is to tear down that wall of false ego. So this is why we are to do. Again, the path of laziness is not the path of Sanatana Dharma. How many, no, not hundreds, how many thousands of verses are there? Thousands of verses are there throughout the totality of the Vedic scriptures that speak about the yoga system. We are to do meditation, we are to do concentration, we are to do asana, we are to do pranayama, we are to do puja, we are to do tapasya, we are to do. There are thousands of verses within the Vedic scriptures. But why are we to do? We are to do only because at this specific time in our life, it's not that God's grace is not there, it's that we, of our own accord, cannot access it. So thus, what do? We rid ourselves of our anarthas, of our faults. We begin to explore within and to access that goodness, that virtue that is there within us, such that it comes to the point where we have eventually God realization, and now we have full access. We realize that God's grace has always been with us. And now, taking shelter of God's grace, it is God's grace itself that gives us that final liberation. This is prapatti. It is by surrendering unto the grace of God that we now have liberation. So this is how grace and endeavoring, actually doing, come together perfectly. So indeed, which of these paths do we follow? The monkey path or the cat path? Yes, is the answer. Very good. So with that, sadly, and I do mean sadly, we're going to have to stop here. I see that there are more questions, but again, we've gone for almost an hour and a half, and again, everyone is melting. The walls are starting to melt, I see. It's extremely hot here in Omaha. For people who think that Omaha is a frozen wasteland, oh, you haven't been to Omaha. It's beautiful here. The winters are nice and not that bad, but the summers can indeed get very hot. So I don't want our congregation to melt any more than they already have. So we will stop here. Thank you all very much for joining us for the ISDS live stream here on YouTube, for those who will see the video of this afterwards. And before I leave, as always, I need to just remind people of a few things. First of all, if you have not joined our Discord server yet, please do so immediately. If and only if you are sincere. If you're not sincere, please don't join. Please don't join. If you are sincere, if you have humility, if your goal in your spiritual pursuit is not just to gain academic knowledge, but to truly know God in the immediate, then join our Discord server. Because what you will see is that there are hundreds of devotees on there who that's their pursuit. And you can join their company, engage in discussion, wonderful discussion 24/7. So join the Discord server. Hopefully the link is up. The other thing is, please visit our website, dharmacentral.com. dharmacentral.com is the #1 website on the face of the earth for learning about Sanatana Dharma. You'll find all of our books on there, such as Sanatana Dharma, The Eternal Natural Way. We have, I believe, 13 books out as of right now, many more coming in the near future. Please look at our books that are available. Please purchase our books. They are unlike any other books on Sanatana Dharma on the face of the planet. You doubt that? Read one, and then you won't doubt that anymore. Also, while there, and it's my duty to say this, what you are experiencing is not just a YouTube channel. This is 1 or 2% of what we do. This is a movement called the International Sanatana Dharma Society. It is a non-profit, religious, 501c3, tax-exempt movement. And we need your help in every way. We need your donations. If you want to give a one-time donation, again, if you go to dharmacentral.com, you can give a one-time donation by going there. Even more, if you want to become a monthly tithing member of the ISDS, you can do that on Dharma Central as well. And we thank you for what support you can give us. With that, we will end here. I thank you again for being here. Join us next week and every week as we continue to explore the wonders of Sanatana Dharma. And with that, everyone, namaste. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Sri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharmarashtra Jayate.
Dharmarashtra Jayate.
Suryavansha Jayate.
Suryavansha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
May Dharma be victorious. Evam bhavatu. May it be so. And it is absolutely guaranteed that it will be so. With that, everyone, I leave you again with these words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, wherein he says, Ma shuchaha, do not fear. Take care, everyone.